These Hariy Maclary stories were written by Lynley Dodd, read by Ivar Kants. Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Out of the gate and off for a walk went Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. And Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. With Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Bits of bologna, all skinny and bony. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Schnitzel von Krumm, with a very low tum. Bits of Maloney, all skinny and bony. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. With tails in the air, they trotted on down, past the shops and the park, to the far end of town. They sniffed at the smells, and they snooped at each door, when suddenly, out of the shadows, they saw Scarface Claw, the toughest Tom in town. Said Scarface Claw. Off with a yowl, a wail and a howl, a scatter of paws and a clatter of claws, went Schnitzel von Krumm with a very low tum. Bits of Maloney, all skinny and bony. Muffin Maclay, like a bundle of hay. Bottomly pots, covered in spots. Hercules Morse, as big as a horse. And Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Straight back home to bed. Schnitzel von Krumm's Basketwork. Tucked in a hidey hole under the stair lay a rickety basket in need of repair. A chewed-up old cushion, a blanket all worn, everything broken and smelly and torn, and under the blanket, his paws on his tum, happily snoring lay Schnitzel von Krumm. He liked all the tatters. He liked every tear, the broken down edges, the holes and the hair. The smell was so friendly, and as for the fit, if he needed to squeeze, did he mind? Not a bit. But, yuck, said his family. Time to say no. This beaten-up basket must instantly go. It's scruffy and dirty, it's hopelessly small, and we really can't have such a smell in the hall. So they lifted the basket and took it away, and bought him another the very same day. He tried it for size. There was room for his tum, but it didn't smell friendly to Schnitzel von Krumm. The basket was smart and a much better fit. Was it cosy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed in a jumble of shirts, pyjamas and towels and flowery skirts. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cosy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed with the dusters and mops, the cleaners and brooms and preserving jar tops. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cosy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed in a rack full of greens, with the spinach and celery, parsley and beans. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cosy and comforting? No, not a bit. He made a new bed at the side of the shed, in the daisies and dahlias, yellow and red. But something was wrong with the smell and the fit. Was it cosy and comforting? No, not a bit. Poor Schnitzel von Krumm. He sat on the stair and dreamed of his basket, the holes and the hair, the broken down edges, the blanket all worn, everything scruffy and smelly and torn. His ears drooped down and his tail did too. "Help!" said his family. "What can we do?" So back to the hidey hole under the stair went the battered old basket in need of repair, and back in a hurry went Schnitzel von Krumm, with a wag of his tail and a heave of his tum. The new one was smart and a much better fit, but when it had gone, did he mind? Not a bit. Hariy Maclary's Showbusiness. In Riverside Hall, on Cabbage Tree Row, the Cat Club were having their annual show. There were fat cats and thin cats, tabbies and greys, kick-up-a-din cats with boisterous ways. Cooped up in cages, they practised their wails while their owners fussed over their teeth and their tails. Out in the street, tied to a tree, Hairy Maclary was trying to see. He struggled and squirmed. He unravelled the knot, and dragging his lead, he was off at a trot. He bounced up the steps. He pounced through the door. He pricked up his ears, and he pranced round the floor, flapping and flustering, bothering, blustering, leaving behind him a hiss and a roar. "Stop!" cried the president. "Collar him, quick!" But Hairy Maclary was slippery slick. He slid under tables. He jumped over chairs. He skittered through legs. And he sped down the stairs. In and out doorways, through banners and flags, tangling together belongings and bags. Along came Miss Plum with a big silver cup. "Got him," she said, as she snaffled him up. Preening and purring, the prize winners sat with their rosettes and cups on the prize winners' mat. And who won the prize for the scruffiest cat? Hairy Maclary from Donaldson's Dairy. Hairy Maclary, Scattercat. Hairy Maclary felt bumptious and bustly, bossy and bouncy and frisky and hustly. He wanted to run, he wanted to race, but the main thing he wanted was something to chase. Grey Wacky Jones was hunting a bee, but along came Hairy Maclary and chased her up high in the sycamore tree. Butterball Brown was washing a paw, but along came Hairy Maclary and bustled him under a rickety door. Pimpernel Pew was patting a ball, but along came Hairy Maclary and chased her away over Pembleton's wall. Slinky Malinki was down in the reeds, but along came Hairy Maclary and hustled him into a drum full of weeds. Mushroom McGee was asleep on a ledge, but along came Hairy Maclary and chased her away through a hole in the hedge. Down on the path, by an old wooden rail, twitching a bit, was the tip of a tail. With bellicose bark and a boisterous bounce, Hairy Maclary was ready to pounce. But around came Scarface Claw. Who bothered and bustled him, wrestled and hustled him, raced him and chased him all the way home. Slinky Malinki, open the door. Slinky Malinki and Sticky Beak Sid were a troublesome pair. Do you know what they did? Alone in the house one mischievous day, they opened a door and they started to play. They shredded a shirt, and they fought with a shoe, a long woolen scarf, and a petticoat too. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They tangled the towels and hung on a rope. They paddled in powder and slid on the soap. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They tipped out some pillow slips, tied up in pairs. They rolled up a carpet and bowled down the stairs. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened the door. They tattered some letters and battered some books. They scattered some paper clips, pencils and hooks. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. They crept up on cushions and vases of flowers. They battled with curtains for hours and hours. Then Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on a handle and opened a door. What a schmozzle! The things that they did. Slinky Malinki and Sticky Beak Sid. They stirred up some spoons and a bowl full of fruit in a sea of spaghetti and vegetable soup. They knocked over packets. They went for a ride. Then came a scratch and a rustle outside. So Slinky Malinki jumped high off the floor. He swung on the handle and opened the door. And who did they see when the door opened wide? Hariy Maclary's Bone. Down in the town, by the butcher's shop door, sat Hariy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. Out of the door came Samuel Stone. He gave Hairy Maclary his tastiest bone. Then off up the street, on scurrying feet, on his way to the dairy went Hairy Maclary. And chasing him home with their eyes on the bone went Hercules Morse. Bottomly Pots. Muffin Maclay. Bitzer Maloney. And Schnitzel von Krumm with the very low tum. Hungrily sniffing and licking their chops, they followed him up past the school and the shops. They came to the sign selling Sutherland sauce. Through they all went, except Hercules Morse. They came to a hedge along Waterloo Way. Under they went, except Muffin Maclay. They came to a yard full of dinghies and yachts. Round they all went, except Bottomly Pots. They came to a building site, cluttered and stony. Over they went, except Bitzer Maloney. They came to a wall by the house of Miss Plum. One of them jumped, but not Schnitzel von Krumm. So, at last he was free to go home on his own, Hairy Maclary, with all of his bone. Hairy Maclary's Caterwaul Caper. With a twitch of his tail and a purposeful paw, down by the river crept Scarface Claw. He woke up a lizard, he startled a bee, and he bothered a blackbird high in a tree. Higher and higher he sneakily snuck, but up in the branches he suddenly stuck. He yowled. Hairy Maclary was eating his meal. Jelly meat, biscuits, a snippet of veal. All of a sudden he heard a strange sound, a yowling, a wailing that echoed around. Yup, 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 said Hairy Maclary, and off he went. Hercules Morse was asleep in a glade, with his tail in the sun and his head in the shade. Then came the sound that echoed around. "Woof!" said Hercules Morse, and off he went. Bottomley Potts was rolling about, with his feet in the air and his tongue hanging out. Then came the sound that echoed around. Said Bottomley Potts, and off he went. Muffin Maclay was having a bath in the old wooden tub at the side of the path. Then came the sound that echoed around. "Ruff, ruff," said Muffin Maclay, and off he went. Bitzer Maloney was having a scratch as he lay in the sun in the strawberry patch. Then came the sound that echoed around. "Bow, bow, wow, wow, wow," said Bitzer Maloney, and off he went. Schnitzel von Krumm was digging a hole in his favourite spot by the passion fruit pole. Then came the sound that echoed around. "Yip, yip," said Schnitzel von Krumm, and off he went. Puffing and panting, impatient to see, together they came to the foot of the tree. They sniffed and they snuffled, they bustled around, and they saw what was making the terrible sound. "Yip, yip," said Schnitzel von Krumm. "Bow, wow, wow, wow," said Bitzer Maloney. "Ruff, ruff," said Muffin Maclay. "Row, row, row, row," said Bottomley Potts. "Woof," said Hercules Morse. "Yap, yap, yap," said Hariy Maclary. And said Scarface Claw. The din was so awful that up hill and down you could hear the cacophony all over the town. Miss Plum brought a ladder and climbed up the tree. She rescued old Scarface. At last he was free. With a flick of his tail and a shake of each paw, off at a gallop went Scarface Claw. And back to their business and Donaldson's dairy went all of the others with Hariy Maclary. Hariy Maclary's Rumpus at the Vet. Down at the vet's there were all kinds of pets, with troubles and woes, from their ears to their toes. Sniffles and snuffles, and doses of flu, itches and stitches, and tummy ache too. So many animals, watchful and wary, and hairy Maclary from Donaldson's dairy. There were miserable dogs, cantankerous cats, a rabbit with pimples, and rickety rats, mice with the sneezes, a goat in a rage, and Cassie the cockatoo locked in her cage. Cassie had claws and a troublesome beak. She saw something twitch, so she gave it a tweak. She pulled it so hard that she plucked out a hair, and hairy Maclary jumped high in the air. A bowl full of mice was bundled about. Over it went, and the mice tumbled out. 4 fussy budgies with Grandmother Goff flew out of their cage when the bottom dropped off. Grizzly Macduff, with a bottle brush tail, leapt out of his basket and over the rail. The Pupperdum kittens from Parkinson Place squeezed through an opening and joined in the chase. Barnacle Beasley forgot he was sore. He bumbled and clattered all over the floor. Then Custard the Labrador, Muffin Maclay, and Noodle the Poodle decided to play. They skidded and scampered, they slid all around, and bottles and boxes came tumbling down. What a kerfuffle! A scramble of paws, a tangle of bodies, a jumble of jaws, with squawking and yowling and mournful meow. They were really making a terrible row. Out came the vet. "I'll fix them," she said. But she tripped on a lead and fell over instead. Geezer the goat crashed into a cage. He butted the bars in a thundering rage. Cassie got mad. She rattled her beak. She saw something twitch, so she gave it a tweak. Sniff, snuff, snap. The sun was hot. The day was still. The animals came to drink their fill. Down past rocks and thorn bush tree, down to the water hole. 1, 2, 3. One bossy warthog, tail up high. 2 yellow weaver birds passing by. "Eee!" squealed the warthog. Sniff, snuff, snap. He chased them away. But they both sneaked back. Back to the waterhole, green and brown. And slowly the water went down and down. Three shy dick-dicks, tip-tap-toe. 4 old baboons in a grumpy row. squealed the warthog. Sniff, snuff, snap. He chased them away. But they all sneaked back. Back to the waterhole, green and brown, and slowly the water went down and down. 5 fine leopards out of sight. 6 striped zebras, black and white. Eee! Squealed the warthog. Sniff, snuff, snap. He chased them away. But they all sneaked back. Back to the waterhole, green and brown, and slowly the water went down and down. Seven tall giraffes with feet astride. 8 fat elephants, side by side. Eee! Squealed the warthog. Sniff, snuff, snap. He chased them away. But they all sneaked back. Back to the waterhole, green and brown, and slowly the water went down and down. Back came the warthog, tired and hot, for a long, cool drink at his favourite spot, down past rocks and thornbush tree. He came to the waterhole, but what did he see? Thick, brown mud.